Sactown Sports.
Welcome back, Sacramento. Alongside Chris Watkins, I am Zakariah. This is Sactown Sports 1140. You can join the program anytime, anyway. Well, two ways. You can call or text 916-339-1140. Check us out on YouTube. Just search Sactown Sports coming up at 10:45. It's called The Fifth, Fun in the 40s, and we'll go around the wacky world of sports. 13 hours of sleep, Chris. What does that even mean?
Means you're well rested, that's for sure.
Jeez, I'm criminy. But right now, it is time to speak with the one, the only. I'd call him a friend. I don't know that he would call me a friend, but he is a former standout offensive lineman, current Raider color commentator, and also a network analyst on Pac-12 Network. You can follow him on Twitter at LKennedy72. Big Link, what's popping?
Zach, what's wrong? What's up, man? You know you can call me a friend. You're a friend. What's happening, man? How you doing?
Fair enough, man. Life is good. No complaints. I want to start actually, I know you do both NFL and college, but we had OC on, Sean O'Connell, who does a Pac-12 show for SiriusXM, and we were just talking about the state of the Pac-12, and I don't know exactly where you stand or how you're feeling about it. Obviously, it's part of what you do directly, but more from a macro perspective, and I'd love to hear your own personal story on it. But this is the best the Pac-12's been probably in my lifetime, Link. They got like 50 teams in the top 25, even though that's not possible.
Isn't that something to trip? Well, anything's possible since the Big Ten is no longer 10 schools. But that's another conversation for another day. To answer your question, Zach, it really hurts me. It really does, because I feel that there's more than a century of history of all the great athletes and great people that came out of the Pac, whether it's a Pac-8, Pac-10, or Pac-12. All the great people that came out, it seems like it's going to be for waste, because the conference is going to be dissolved. So it really hurts me when it comes to that standpoint. And look, it just doesn't feel right for Washington to have to travel back to Rutgers to play a volleyball game. You know what I mean? And something's not right about that. And so, but it is what it is, and we see that everything's been affected by money. It's unfortunate, but that's what it's come down to.
When was the last time you feel like the Pac-12 or the Pac whatever was this competitive?
You know what? Here's the thing. I've always felt that the Pac-12 was competitive because it was the only conference that made you play at least 9 conference games. And so for all the other conferences that are top-heavy, I've noticed over the years that, on any given Saturday, anybody in the Pac can beat anyone else. And it doesn't really matter who's favored. A lot of times it'll go for it. But, you talk about some of the teams that come out of nowhere nobody talks about, like Utah. And now Colorado, everybody's talking about that. I mean, before Prime got there, nobody talked about it. And if USC wasn't good, then the Pac wasn't something that was standing out. Since USC has been good and other schools have caught up, the Pac is now getting its due respect.
Lincoln Kennedy joins us. Zakariah, Chris Watkins here on Sactown Sports 1140. I'm laughing a little bit, Link, because I love you, brother. Your background, not your main picture, but your background picture on Twitter is your Madden score at right tackle. We got nothing but 90s, baby. I can't see exactly. I think that's strength at 95, awareness 94. I can't read the rest because the font is too small, but nothing but 90s from my guy. You were a hell of a offensive lineman. Let's move over to the NFL. Let's start with your Raiders before we get to the Niners. Silver and black get a, let's call it ugly, win in Denver, and then after a 7-0 start looking good, just get totally blown out in week 2. What do you make of the transition from Carr to Jimmy G, and how do you feel about the Raiders for the rest of the season?
Well, I mean, I like the transition. I think, Jimmy Garoppolo has been a winner everywhere he's gone, throwing over 65% of his passes, which is something as well. The touchdown to interception ratio is in favor of probably the best free agent the Raiders could have picked up in this situation. So I like the turning the page in the next series, what we're looking forward to. But here's the thing. When we look at the first month of this schedule, Denver, at Buffalo, and you got the Chargers actually got the Steelers at home on Sunday night and the Chargers at SoFi. So this was no easy first month, if you will. There were a lot of people who were speculating on how the Raiders were going to come out. I'm just glad in the week as we're approaching week 3, they're 1-1 and not 0-2. Yes, it would have been great to be 2-0, but I think we've seen the signs of what people are going to do to the Raiders when they feel that they're going to give the ball to Josh Jacobs. They're going to load the box. So the Raiders have got to do a better job of assigning blocking schemes, and more importantly, find a way to do play action out of the heavy package they have with Thayer Munford as the extra tight end and Jakob Johnson at fullback. Everyone knows when those two guys come in, you're not going to throw the ball to them, so they load the box. So you got to find a way to either use play action to your advantage. You got to take a little bit of the onus off of Josh Jacobs. Offensive line's got to do it better on the interior part. Defense, somebody else has got to rise up besides Max Crosby. You got to have a couple other playmakers on that defensive line. So the team has got some holes. It's got some filling out to do. But I'll tell you this, Zach and Chris, most coaches these days in the NFL, by way of looking at the preseason, because most teams don't play their starters in the preseason, most coaches in the NFL use the first month of the season to evaluate and see where their team is truly at.
You mentioned Josh Jacobs, and I just want to talk about him for a second. He had -2 yards on Sunday against Buffalo. He's got 46 on the season. He obviously held out a training camp because of a contract dispute with, just ongoing running backs and that conversation. Do you feel like he's kind of playing himself into shape, or like you kind of mentioned in that last answer, do you feel like it's just teams are kind of stacking the box against him because he led the NFL in rushing last year?
Well, that's just it. He's the returning rushing leader. And take the two teams that we faced first and foremost. Denver, Josh Jacobs over the last 3 years has torched Denver. He's had unbelievable numbers against Denver. So obviously when Sean Payton took over, he's like, the first game out of the box is against the Raiders. We're not going to let Josh Jacobs beat us. They blatantly took Josh Jacobs away. The offensive line could have done a better job of blocking, but they blatantly took off Jacobs away. In the second game, Buffalo pretty much did the same. Their defensive tackles manhandled the interior offensive line of the Raiders and really got after them and really made it difficult to run between the tackles. And right now, the Raiders don't have a solid tight end that's capable of blocking the perimeter. That's why they have to bring in Thayer Munford. And it's a telltale sign because defenses know you're not going to throw it to your second offensive tackle.
From the silver and black to the red and gold, I want to know, have you heard anything from your peers in terms of the difference between Candlestick and Levi's? It's kind of a two-parter to get you out of here. Have you heard the difference between those two stadiums in terms of the fans and the players liking playing in those two different spots? And also, is tonight going to be a laugher? If not, I'm trying to give Chris reasons why the Niners or why the Giants might make it close. What do you make about Thursday Night Football?
Well, the Niners are clicking on all cylinders right now, so I can't really be mad at them. And they look like one of the favorites, especially to come out of NFC. NFC, to me, is not as competitive as the AFC overall, but they've got some good teams, and the Niners are definitely one of them. So I think it might be a real ass-whooping tonight, especially if Purdy gets off to a strong start like we've seen in the past. But as far as the difference between Candlestick and Levi, I'm just going to speak from my own standard. That sunny side in Levi is no joke. On the peninsula, it gets hot as hell down there. I don't know how people do it, especially on that sunny side. So if I was a season ticket holder on that side, I'd be mad, want my money back. I do miss the old Candlestick. It got cold there, again, but, both of them were good fields. Both of them were nice playing surfaces. I think just for Levi, it's harder to get in and out of there than ever before. And more importantly, that sunny side, like I said, is a killer.
The one, the only Lincoln Kennedy. Follow him on Twitter at LKennedy72. Check out his color commentating for the Raider Network. Also, check out his work on the Pac-12 Network. We Talk Sports. You still doing that on the weekends on Fox?
No, I stopped doing that, man. With college football, the travel and everything else became too much. So I just do the college game on Saturdays and wherever the Raiders are on Sundays or what have you.
Fair enough. And also check out his cigars, KC cigars, if you will. Appreciate you taking out the time, Link. Enjoy your weekend.
Anytime, bro. You guys take care of Zach and Chris. Say, see you later.
Right on. There you go. Big Link, man. I didn't bring up the snowball incident. He's probably happy.
I think
about
that's
that.
probably for the best.
Yeah, he's tired of me bringing that up. But if you're listening and, again, killing time, go ahead and think it's still on YouTube. They took it down at one point. I was mad.
Too violent.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do nothing crazy, but yeah, they were getting rowdy. It was a very blistery day in Denver.
Sometimes people got to learn, man. They got to learn the tough way, especially those. Sometimes fans be fanning too hard, and it's
That's
like, especially
the last guy I would throw a snowball
especially
at.
Football players. It's like, dude, don't
maybe a punter,
just don't mess with them.
maybe a kicker or a punter. But
Hey,
I'm
you
not
never know
throwing
who
it
their
at big
friends
link.
are.
All right, coming up next, it's time to plead the fifth. Fun in the 40s. Man, how much sleep do you get in a day? Because a certain pitcher blamed his poor performance on lack of sleep when it was in the double digits. I can't understand that. We'll do that and much more around the wacky world of sports. You're listening to Chris Watkins and Zakariah right here, Sactown Sports, 1140.
Trying to find out where